Welcome back to Ski-U-Mah Weekly, presented by the Minnesota Lottery. I'm Justin Gard. Thanks for watching us however you're doing it today on the Gopher Sports Facebook page, on the Swimming and Diving Facebook page, or via Periscope. We appreciate however you're watching, and we're happy to be joined now by Sam Owens and Kristina Anderson from left to right as you're watching? No, right to left. Sam and Kristina, coaches of the Spirit Squad dance team. They had a big weekend in Orlando this weekend. We're going to get to Goldie because everybody wants to talk about Goldie, so much so he's going to be a guest next week on this show. Don't know how we're going to do that. But you just spent some time in Orlando. Give us a little sense of what happened down at the championships on Disney Wide World of Sports Resorts.
Sure. I think we had a fantastic run. It's a huge weekend of 70 kids we take down there in the 5 different teams, and we're going from division to division, all supporting each other, but the kids came through and did awesome. So lots of good press down there, but a good showing for Minnesota overall.
Co-ed cheer 11th, cheer all girls 6th, cheer game day 2nd, dance jazz 2nd, Dance Palm 2nd, mascot 1st. We'll get to him. But Kristina, give us a sense. I know we were talking before, all these different events, it seems like it just keeps growing and growing and growing. They're adding things. A lot to keep track of. As Sam mentioned, 70 kids, 5 teams. How do you keep track of all this stuff as the season goes on?
Well, we have only a couple of us that work in the office full-time, keep track of all of our kids and getting ready for the competition. Like you mentioned, we had a new game day division down in Orlando, so we had 2 teams competing in that, co-ed and all-girl. All together, 7 routines that we put together. We have an awesome staff. We've got a staff of 12 that we took down there with us to manage everything and make sure our teams did the best that they could.
What's the perspective in terms of time commitment for first the coaches and the staff? I'm sure it's a lot to come up with all those routines and everything, but also the student athletes that are going to school and being normal college students. What kind of time commitment are we talking about here?
Sure. Well, like any college sport, it's all year round. So if you're not in season, you're training for the season. Our normal weekly practice is 3 to 4 times a week, plus a football game or 1 or 2 basketball games. Basketball is in season. There's conditioning on top of that. So it's a pretty full week. It ends up being 5 to 6 days a week. Yeah.
So we've both competed as well.
Yep.
And basically have never left. We've got some lifers here. But does that give you a perspective, Kristina, of what the kids are going through as well, and maybe help you understand? You might have to back off here. Here's where we can push them a little bit. There's a lot going on, especially when you get towards the end and there's finals and everything. And
Absolutely.
The season's never really stopped, right? You're expected to be where you're expected to be. But what's the perspective help there?
As coaches, we try to, keep in touch with our athletes, talk with them, talk with captains frequently, just to kind of understand their challenges, things that they're going through right now. We've been out of school for a little while, but we have some younger coaches who are a little bit closer in age to the athletes, and just staying in touch with what their challenges are is a big part of what we do as full-time staff people.
How much do the expectations, might not be the right word, but you guys have a certain culture in that when you go down to Orlando, you're typically coming back with some banners. We hear about that every year.
Absolutely.
So is expectation the right way to put that, or just how would you talk about the tradition, I guess, of what you guys do year in and year out?
Sure. Well, I feel like the tradition is just always putting our best foot forward, and that doesn't start, when we're preparing for nationals. It starts at tryouts. So we try to pick the best kids that, have a good understanding of what it means to be on the Spirit Squad, and that is you're representing the university and the department, and yourselves, not to mention your family. So conduct is, usually going to be number 1. And we try to find good kids that are also talented. We put those things together, and that's how we do well.
You kind of went right where I wanted to go next, and recruiting probably isn't the right way to put it, but you have to field. You mentioned all these different teams. So where are these kids coming from? How are they getting information about it? And then what's the tryout process like?
So we use social media. We reach out, we post things. We have a cheer interest form where athletes will submit or dance interest and let us know that they're interested in coming to the school. We host camps and clinics where athletes can get some exposure to our program, just to kind of understand what we're all about, and we can see what their talent is like, their skill. We recruit gymnasts, we recruit figure skaters for the hockey cheer team. We've got kind of a wide variety. We sometimes have guys who come in brand new who've never done co-ed cheerleading before in their life. They're just good athletes.
Sure.
They've been football players, basketball players, wrestlers.
They come in and Usually they'll join our small co-ed cheer team first and get some great exposure with stunting and learn how to tumble, and then make their way into our large co-ed cheer team.
So it's kind of like I've talked to Wendy Davis about this before with rowing, because there's not a lot of high school rowing
Right.
programs, right? Very
Right.
few. So where do you get people? So
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to have dance or cheer experience coming up. Obviously that's going to help you, but especially maybe for the guys,
Yeah.
Right.
there's another avenue
Right.
for you.
So I would say all of our female athletes come in pretty seasoned. The guys are they're the ones that we have to bring in, train. We take pretty much on, attitude and athleticism, basically.
And it's an interesting mix between having girls who've done this sport their entire life,
Yeah.
who are very good at it, and then guys who are brand new.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
So.
Do you think I would have any shot? Like if you started working with me right now, do I look athletic enough? Is there a frame here, Sam, that you could maybe mold into something that would be able to help you someday?
You're a big guy, and you definitely know you speak well.
I'd be the base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I definitely think we can find a spot for you.
Something to think about. That sounds fun. Let's not bury the lead any further. Goldie, we hear basically every year he's like the 10-time defending national champion mascot ever. And I was talking to some people before the show. I'm like, well, what goes into that? I'm like, what makes Goldie so good? Goldie doesn't just show up last weekend in Orlando and win.
No.
It's quite a process.
Yep.
Take people through the process a little bit of how the mascots get judged, because I find the whole thing fascinating.
Sure. So we come down with a tape, and you're ranked on your tape. So these guys put a tape together of 5 different categories, and they'll be able to explain it a little bit better next week, and give you like more detail. But everything they do throughout the year, that stuff is taped. We take the best material, send it to Orlando. It gets judged. That's half the score. The other half is the skit you bring, the crowd interaction, how everyone responds to what it has been done, and there you go.
And a lot goes into the video and the skit, I'm told.
Absolutely.
Right, Kristina? Like it's like an all-year process where you're borrowing and begging and stealing from everybody on campus to make the video what it should be, correct?
Yeah, the video, I think what UCA wants to do with the video is make sure that the mascot isn't just putting everything into one skit for that weekend and competing, but throughout the entire year that they are successful at what they do, they interact with the community, they're active on campus. They're basically a well-loved mascot around their state, and Goldie definitely is.
When they go down, well, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I was going to say something that was really interesting this year is like in so many of the other skits, Goldie, they're going after him. You could tell he definitely has a target.
He's a
on
marked
their
man.
back. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there's that target because in every skit they were like this, trying to use him and go after him.
Well, that means you've made it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, I'm allegedly going to talk to him next week. He's going to be on the show. Any advice on how I'm going to communicate? And you guys obviously work with him pretty
Practice
closely.
your charades.
I was going to say that.
Charades.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. I'm not going to spin my head. I'll leave that behind. Well, thanks for joining us on the show, guys. We appreciate it. Best
Thanks
of
for
luck,
having us.
and we'll certainly stay in touch as we keep moving forward. What do you think of the new place?
It's
Amazing.
fantastic. This view is amazing.
Like you said before we went on, it'd be nice to live here.
Yes, it
Yeah.
would
We
be.
have that view. It's $1 million view. Well,
is.
Sam Owens and Kristina Anderson, they're with Dance, they're with Spirit. You heard about info on how to get involved if you're thinking about it, either as a current college student or a prospective student athlete. So check out all the information there. We thank you for joining us here on Ski-U-Mah Weekly, presented by the Minnesota Lottery. We teased it next week, Monday at noon. Goldie's going to be here. I don't know how that's going to go. We're going to give it our best shot. We'll also talk women's basketball. So that's next week, Monday, on the Minnesota Sports Facebook page.